A Sydney suburb attacks charges that it's become an Asian ghetto. Protests over plans for a drug clinic. And a former MP faces court on sex charges. Good evening. Outrage in Sydney's west today over claims that Cabramatta is becoming an Asian ghetto. A Melbourne academic says high unemployment and increasing social problems are potentially explosive. But residents say the professor should stay in his own backyard.
Cabramatta has been an immigration gateway for 4 decades. The Vietnamese who arrived at the local migrant hostel in the early 80s settled in the area. The Italians did the same thing in the 50s. According to Professor Bob Birrell, the high concentration of Indo-Chinese migrants is turning the area into a ghetto.
The area is developing as one of multiple social problems, predominantly one ethnic group, an ethnic group which has low esteem in the wider community.
Mayor Tony Lord echoed the universal local reaction.
This man is a professor from Melbourne. What does he know?
The Vietnamese community have no intention at all, to turn Cabramatta to Little Saigon.
Unemployment here is 23%, more than twice the national average. But the locals say a generational change is underway.
If you just look at the students we have at the moment in our high schools, most of them are coming through with astounding achievements, and they'll be the professionals of the future. Certainly not a ghetto.
Lee Hatcher, 7 Nightly News.
Community anger over drugs brought traffic to a standstill in Sydney's southwest this afternoon. Residents formed a human barricade across Punchbowl Road. They claim that a proposal to open a private methadone clinic in their shopping centre will turn the suburb into a drug haven. Bankstown Council has already approved the development, but it could still be rejected by the Health Department. 14 lonely men are suing a Sydney matchmaking agency, claiming that it relieved them of more than $100,000 for no results. One widower told the Supreme Court that he spent his $31,000 superannuation payout with the agency.
Painter John Gadalita was lonely and looking for love. He joined the bona fide introduction agency, but instead of finding happiness, he says he was fleeced. Now John and 13 other men are suing the company and director Victoria Onassis, trying to recover $123,000 paid over in fees. Consumer Affairs says the agency used high-pressure sales tactics and took advantage of the emotional vulnerability of members to extract large sums of money for little or no service at all. John Gadalita paid $8,000 for one unsuccessful date.
They took advantage of me because of my height, and probably I was easy-going bloke and good-hearted.
Also suing for compensation, a 62-year-old widower who spent $31,000 of his superannuation with the agency. Another client was mentally retarded, unable to fully understand the contract he was signing. The Supreme Court's been told money was deducted from clients' credit card accounts without authority. Bona fide Consultants is a $2 shelf company. The court has to decide whether Victoria Onassis is liable for any compensation. Felicity Moffat, 7 Nightly News.
A Sydney court has been told that a man repeatedly stabbed and punched his parents when a Father's Day lunch erupted in violence. Police allege that the row broke out over a cup of coffee.
The peace and tranquility of Father's Day in Pymble was shattered by a violent lunchtime argument. 59-year-old Peter Baldwin and his wife Marie, aged 57, were rushed to hospital in a serious condition, suffering knife wounds. This morning, their 27-year-old son Simon faced Hornsby Court, charged with malicious wounding and inflicting grievous bodily harm. Police say Simon Baldwin of Epping had gone to his parents' house about 12:30 yesterday. A short time later, an argument erupted, allegedly over a cup of coffee. Police say Simon was punching his father when his mother tried to call police. He allegedly slashed her neck with a knife before turning back to his father and stabbing him in the stomach. When police and ambulance officers arrived at the house, they say Simon was trying to cover his parents' wounds with towels. Magistrate Wayne Evans said he couldn't be satisfied of the alleged victim's safety. He remanded Mr Baldwin in custody, ordering he undergo medical and psychological evaluation. Other family members attended today's court hearing where bail was refused. Jeff Bruce, 7 Nightly News.
A succession of tragedies has prompted the fire brigade to launch a survey into the number of homes with smoke detectors. The brigade says the simple device could have prevented many of this year's 27 house fire deaths.
The fire brigade says a ladder, a screwdriver and $15 is about all it takes to make a family safe. But despite the cheap price and the ease of installing smoke detectors, firemen regret that the device's popularity isn't what it should be.
The tragedy of it is that we've had 3 serious fires where there have been multiple losses of life. Nearly whole families eliminated.
27 people have died in New South Wales house fires this year. While smoke detectors could not have prevented all the tragedies, fire investigators are certain many victims would have survived if they'd been alerted by the sensitive alarms. It's hoped a questionnaire to be circulated by the 324 brigades throughout the state will provide an accurate measure of the average family's protection.
The questionnaire is for us to get some feedback on whether we are attacking the problem of fire safety in the right manner.
The questionnaires launch follows a weekend of tragedy with 4 people dying in separate fires at Macquarie Fields in Sydney's southwest and Wollongong. Adam Walters, 7 Nightly News.
Alarming new figures indicate that Australia ranks behind some third world countries when it comes to immunising children against deadly diseases. Just 53% of Australian children are protected, leading the federal government to highlight a growing number of senseless deaths.
Last year, there were 6,000 cases of preventable diseases like rubella, whooping cough and measles. All illnesses which could be simply avoided if children were immunised. At the launch of an awareness campaign, mother Gay Davidson told of her personal anguish at losing a daughter to measles.
And then in November 84, she died in a deep coma and after having had no food or fluid for 12 days.
In her emotional address, Mrs Davidson gave a chilling warning.
I've seen and heard about so much misery from this cause that I don't think any parent has the right to choose not to have their children vaccinated.
Health Minister Graham Richardson said Australia's immunisation level had fallen to 53%, well short of the level set by the World Health Organisation.
Countries like Vietnam have got better immunisation rates than Australia.
Ironically, the big problem is that most people believe these diseases have been wiped out by immunisation. In fact, in the past decade, 57 people have died from rubella and whooping cough. In Canberra, Helen McCabe, 7 Nightly News.
Labor is predicting a horror state budget following an admission from the Premier that the public sector jobs will go. But as Mr Fay prepares to slash the billion-dollar deficit tomorrow, he says there will be no spending cuts on hospitals, police and schools.
The Premier was frank in his message for the state's public servants. The freeze on job cuts ends tomorrow.
I gave a 12-month moratorium on inner budget areas in the budget last year. The 12 months is up.
Labor says that in the Water Board, the MSB and Transport Department, cuts will be savage.
You're going to see forced redundancies. They're going to be families devastated by job losses in John Fay's budget.
Last year, Mr Fay promised his budget would generate 18,000 jobs by Christmas. Today, he would not pinpoint the number created.
Are there other questions?
All this was baloney. 18,000 jobs by Christmas. I challenge him to point to any jobs that his last budget created.
With job cuts threatening to dominate the agenda tomorrow, the government today continued its leaking of budget good news, a 7% increase in health spending. The $5 billion total means more money for Sydney's west and the central and north coasts. $800 million will be spent fighting cancer and heart disease. Jim Marr, 7 Nightly News.
Ahead in 7's News, a federal MP in court on sex charges and the growing problem of teenage drunks.
Esme Watson, the backbone of Wandon Valley, a trusted friend to everyone. She's always there with a smile or a shoulder to cry on.
I want to sell my house.
So what would drive her away from everything she loves? A country practice, tonight on 7.
Until now, the level of safety in expensive European saloons was beyond the reach of most Australian families. But now there's an Australian car with independent rear suspension, anti-lock braking and airbag, all standard. The all-new Holden Commodore Acclaim. At under $30,000, it puts safety within your reach. The all-new Holden Commodore Acclaim, the safest Australian family car ever.
All green slips look pretty much the same until it comes to the crunch. But with an NRMA green slip, if you or your family are hurt, we can give you 24-hour medical advice at the time of the accident, stress counselling while you're recovering, even home help, and much more for free. Trust NRMA to give you a green slip that may look like the rest, but looks after you like no other. Call NRMA for AGLP.
1, 2, 3. Now give me that good, good love. All I need is love. Good loving, baby. Come on, give me that love. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, indeed. All I really need. Good love. Give me that good, good love. All I need is love. Good loving, baby.
Yo, way to go.
You can talk to the animals, swim with the fish, or simply soak up the sun on one of 7 beautiful beaches when you holiday on balmy Brampton Island for this great Queensland price.
Beautiful one day, perfect.